So I will hit the record button, and then we'll, you know, say things that mean things like Messerschmitts. And no one else will say anything. Just me saying
I, I,
Messerschmitts.
I
Emmy
was trying.
109.
Henkel.
Falk Wolf 190.
Messerschmitts.
Junker.
I just want to say Messerschmitts over and over again.
I forget what a Messerschmitt. Wasn't that the planes used in World
The
War II?
Messerschmitt 109 was the main German fighter. The Heinkel 111 was one of the main bombers, the two-engine
Okay.
bombers.
I knew somebody would know that, and I figured it was Dirk.
How'd you know?
Mike was going to be my second fallback if Dirk didn't, but I was pretty sure it was Dirk.
I mean, I knew they were airplane manufacturers, but I didn't remember all those details that Dirk shared.
I learned that word from an old Daffy Duck wartime cartoon where he gets surrounded by Nazi planes that can all hover in place because it's a cartoon, and he looks around and he goes, Messerschmitts, a whole mess of Messerschmitts. And I was like, what does that mean? And then I found out.
That's fun.
But all right, so that's a minute and a half. So surely the recording has kicked in by now. So here we go. Jam! Excuse me. I was trying to mix things up, and then at the end of that, something in my throat went, ah. But you know what? We're keeping it in.
I'll show you for trying to change up the formula.
Yeah. How dare.
Mm-hmm.
So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mana Pool. This is episode 671 of the Mana Pool, and I am Chewy. What is this in the chat? Dementor milestone achieved. Dementor watched 3 consecutive streams this month and sparked a watch streak.
Interesting.
I don't even know what that is. Twitch has achievements now, apparently. Huh. Okay. I mean,
We knew it was coming.
pretty much only Nintendo doesn't have achievements at this point, so. Huh. But anyway, hello, I am Chewy, the lead dork, and I am surrounded not by Messerschmitts, which makes no sense if you're listening to the audio version of this. I apologize. But I am surrounded by these other dorks. Digitally surrounded. They're not actually in my apartment, are they?
I am Brian. I'm the lead Rambler Tangent Master of the group, and I am not, as far as he knows, in Chewy's apartment. The call is not coming from inside the house.
I'm going to go make sure I actually locked the door.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy. I was in Chewy's house a little less than a week ago, but now I am not.
It's true.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And it's been years since the last time I was in Chewy's place.
Oh, you should come over sometime.
I said, it's been a while.
Yeah, Mike and Ashley came over and we had Mexican food, and then we screwed around in the Quest. Mike tried out Resident Evil 4 VR for the first time on my system, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, felt pretty good.
Yeah. Unlike Skyrim, they didn't just take Resident Evil 4 and make it a first-person perspective. It's actually a VR game. Your weapons are stored on your body. These are options you can turn off if you don't like them, but by default, your weapons are stored on your body. So your gun's on this hip and your knife is on your chest, and
That was pretty cool.
Your ammo's on this hip, and you have to actually physically reload your gun and cock it, or whatever the word is. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And then Skyrim is just Skyrim but from only first person, and you're a pair of floating hands. Like, you can't interact with the world with your hands or anything like that. Everything is still done the same way as before, and it's kind of awful. Luckily, mods exist. It takes 3 mods for Skyrim to turn Skyrim into the type of VR game that Resident Evil 4 is just natively. So yeah, they did it right. It's pretty cool. Mike also found out that the Mercenaries mode and the shooting range are both just unlocked from the start, which made me happy because I'm playing through Resident Evil 4 on stream and I can't play any of the extra stuff like Mercenaries, Assignment Ada, Separate Ways. I can't do any of that until I beat the game once. Boo.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I wouldn't do it until I beat the game once anyway, but it would be nice to have the option, damn it. Mercenaries I would play before I had to beat the game. Straight up. But anyway. That's not what we're here to talk about. Although, I don't know how much mileage we're going to get out of today's topic, so it's good to derail while we can. So tonight,
of little faith.
on this episode of the Mana Pool, we're doing a Mythic Conscription. Yay! For those of you that are new or don't remember or have no short-term memory, long-term memory, only have short-term memory, whatever, shut up. We are doing a Mythic Conscription, which is where we go back to an old set before the Mythic rarity existed and look at all the rares in the set and try to figure out which of these, if any, would be Mythics if the Mythic rarity existed. So, yeah, we're almost done, weirdly enough. We've got this, which is Future Sight, is what we're doing today. And then we've got the Lorwyn block, and then we're done.
Mm-hmm.
So, after today, we've only got 4 sets left in Mythic Conscription. I'm sure we'll look at some other stuff, like maybe a core set or 2. I don't think we should do all the core sets because that sounds awful. But we might bounce around and do a couple, like a core set from each of the eras of them or something. I don't know. We haven't actually discussed that at all.
No, we haven't.
But let us know if if we should do any of that. Other than do every one, because we're not doing it. That sounds awful.
A lot of them would just be too samey, so we would have to pick ones that came kind of far apart when they were doing different things with them.
Exactly. I will say I think we should do Alpha, because I think that would be hilarious.
Yes, we do need to do.
And if not Alpha, then like Unlimited or, one of those sets after they got stuff figured out.
Well, yeah, I mean, Alpha, Beta, Unlimited are basically the same set, except they like fixed typos as they went on.
Yeah. So we'll either do one of those or revised.
Right.
But revised is still basically the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you say
there were
WoW
some
isn't
that were cut, and there were some things brought in from Arabian Nights and Antiquities.
You mentioned that it's hard to believe that we're almost done, but we've also been doing Mythic Conscription for how many years? So
it's been a hot minute.
I just remember we had the idea one time, and not really thinking we might do this with all of them, and it's been a great thing to just kind of talk about from time to time. So
I agree. So yeah.
So
Future Sight was the 3rd set of the Time Spiral block. Now, Time Spiral, remember, was the past. Planar Chaos was the present. And Future Sight is the, wait for it, the future. And we're not looking at the time-shifted sheet because that's a whole other thing. And luckily, the one thing Gatherer does right, I swear, is it's got Time Spiral and the Time Spiral time-shifted cards listed separately.
Mm-hmm.
Thank goodness.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Future Sight was... So this is back when they did big set and then small set, small set. So Future Sight is a small set, so there aren't that many cards to talk about. And, I mean, spoilers, but thank goodness. So, So let's get into it, my dorks.
Let's do it.
So first up, we should do the Magus
The
cycle,
Magi? Yeah.
because that's a continuation from the previous two sets. Time Spiral
Yeah.
was artifacts.
It was
Yes.
artifacts.
And then
Artifacts on-
Planar
I think all of
Chaos-
these are replicating things that were on the reserve list. Maybe. I
Maybe.
don't know if that's true.
And then
But
Planar
then-
Chaos was artifacts. No, it was enchantments.
Was lands. This one's enchantments.
Sorry, I saw Magus of the Moat, and my brain turned that into a land because I'm dumb. Right, so we had artifacts, then lands. Now we have the Magus of enchantments. And I'm not entirely sure, but I think, and I asked the dorks earlier because I wasn't sure, I think we decided that the Magus cycles previously were good at rare.
I'm
Yeah.
fairly certain that's what we had decided. So yes. That does not mean that these have to be. We need to look at these effects. Like the Magus of the Moat. Because Moat is a super strong effect. The Magus of the Moat for 2 and 2 white, that's the regular cost of Moat, right?
Sounds right.
Is
I
a
have
human
no idea.
wizard, is a 0/3 and has creatures without flying, can't attack, which is the Moat effect. So, yeah. I think that's a it's a very powerful effect. It makes sense here that it is a 0/3 creature because it's not going to attack anyway. So, because it doesn't have flying. So, it doesn't need a power. So, I mean, I
That's
think
pretty
it's
funny.
a powerful effect, but it does not strike me as mythic.
Not really, no.
Okay.
Let's go to the blue one. Assuming, there's nothing else really to say about that.
No, I agree.
Okay.
All right. So we have the Magus of the Future. What's that do, Dirk?
So for 2 and 3 blue, grand total of 5 mana. It's a 2/3 human wizard that's rare. It says play with the top card of your library revealed. You may play the top card of your library.
So it's Future Sight.
It's Future
Yeah.
Sight.
The card, not the set.
Yeah. Because that doesn't get confusing.
March of the Machine, not plural.
It's a really cool effect. It's a very
Yeah.
strong effect.
I can't remember
Yeah.
what we said about Future Sight itself. Back when we did.
I have to go back. Unless somebody is keeping a database, which may have been a
And that would have
nifty
been a
idea.
fairly long time ago, too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Onslaught Buck was when we did back during the Wild West days, as Brian put it.
Mhm.
In fact, we
Yeah.
did the Onslaught block out of order.
Mhm.
Because we so crazy.
Yeah, it's in reprint. It stayed a rare.
Yeah. Oh, wait, Future Sight?
Or
Yeah.
no, Magus of the Future.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I can't
was
remember a
reprinted
Future
Time
Sight.
Spiral
I know
and
Future
Master.
Sight got a reprint, but I can't remember what its rarity was with its awesome new art reprint. Which I would have made the backdrop for this episode instead of Pact of Negation, as you can see behind us here. But
Was it
I,
referenced as like a commander product or something?
I don't remember. Like, I couldn't find a high res enough version of the art, and then I realized that's the card, not the set, stupid. So, as Brian said, because that's not confusing at all.
You could have just played it off as a little inside joke.
Yeah. But, I mean, Magus of the Future is a powerful effect, but again, it's 5 mana for a 2/3 that doesn't really do anything by itself. So, I could see it going either way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a pretty solid rare. And it's so frail. Like I would probably rank Future Sight itself, the card, higher than the Magus of the Future.
Yeah,
So
and that's a big disadvantage of all of these because they are creatures with toughness. That makes them way more fragile than the enchantment versions.
Yeah, you can't bolt a land or an artifact or an enchantment,
Hmm.
but you can bolt a creature all day long. And this isn't
Yeah.
like a Dice to Doomblade discussion, but the fact that it's a creature does mean it's easier to remove than the other types,
Yeah, because you
by
know
and
what doesn't
large.
die to Doomblade? Moat.
Correct.
So Future Sight the card was rare in all of its reprintings.
Oh, okay.
All 5 printings.
What else was it printed in?
It was printed in Onslaught originally, Duels Jace vs. Vraska, Vintage Masters, Eternal Masters, and Modern Horizons.
That's the one with the cool new art that I was
Modern
thinking of.
Horizons.
Ironically, Onslaught is the only one without the new art. All 4 of the other versions have the same art.
Huh. It's really cool art with the tree and the skulls and whatnot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to the what is this? Magus of the Abyss, which is based on what's that card? The Abyss.
The
yeah,
Abyss.
For 3 and a black, he's a 4/3 human wizard. It says at the beginning of each player's upkeep, destroy target non-artifact creature that player controls of his or her choice. It can't be regenerated. Is that what it still says?
See?
Destroy target. Yeah.
Yeah.
That word for word. Okay. So yeah, that's what the Abyss did, and that's what the Magus does.
Yeah. But the Abyss wouldn't end up getting itself eventually. That is a disadvantage of Magus of the Abyss.
Like a major one.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would play the Abyss in a creatureless deck. Probably.
Yeah.
And never feel the burn.
Yeah, or just a deck with, a couple of big artifact creatures, and that's all you need.
Oh, it does say non-artifact creature, doesn't it?
you could
Yeah.
play this Mycosynth Lattice, and then nothing would ever get destroyed. But you could.
But hey, you have an Abyss, and that's worth showing off.
That is worth showing off.
So I think Mike just outlined why it's probably a good rare. Also, apologies for the quality of the images here. It's not the stream and it's not what I've done. They're just bad scans on
There
the
are
Gatherer.
some sets with really bad scans.
Yeah, and Future Sight is clearly one of those. Look how pixelated this is. It's terrible. All right, what's next? Magus of the Moon. Magus of the Moon with an M is the first card in red rares. Wow. They're alphabetical. That's why I'm wowing. All right, what's Magus of the Moon?
That would be 2 and a red for a 2/2 human wizard. Non-basic lands are mountains, which is what a blood moon.
Yeah.
Yep, Blood Moon.
Which Blood Moon's just always rare, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been.
And this is a 2/2 for 3.
Yep. I mean, it's good. It was, for real modern relevant for a long time.
He's not wrong.
So it's not that they're mountains in addition to their abilities. It
No.
completely replaces.
Yeah, they're just mountains. Yeah, effects like this, it they're mountains, and they lose all of their other printed abilities.
Yeah, so this
That's
is
kind of the whole point. Yeah.
yeah, this is huge against like Urzatron decks.
Urzatron.
If you can get a Blood Moon out against an
colors.
Urzatron deck, they're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Valakut.
Yeah.
Which is
My
ironic.
thing
'Cause
was if non-base. Okay, gotcha.
All right.
So if someone was to play like all dual land cards, you essentially have shut their deck down.
Yep. They have a problem.
So, rare or mythic?
It's rare.
It's a powerful hate card, but
Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But like I
That
said,
leaves-
powerful. As we've discussed before, hate cards are usually like it rare or uncommon.
Yeah.
Weirdly.
Even like the Praetors are hate cards, but first of all, they're legendary creatures. They're iconic for the sets that they're in, as well as what they represent for Phyrexia. And they're all like not just hate, like detriment you, but also benefit me. So
Yeah, they're not
they're
hate
like
cards. Like a hate card is in this context is something that is pointed against some specific thing your opponent might be doing.
Is it Boil? Boil is just
Yeah,
like
like
straight
Boil.
up destroy
Yeah.
all islands. Yeah,
Yeah.
like screw you, blue player.
Exactly. So, all right, then our last one. Where is he? Magus of the Vineyard. What is? I don't even remember this card. What is the Vineyard?
For
Volrath's Vineyard?
No,
No,
Eladamar's
Eladamar's
Vineyard.
Vineyard, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
there we go.
I was thinking of Volrath's Garden. No, Eladamar's Vineyard, yes.
Yeah. So what's that do, Mike?
So, this creature right here costs 1 green for a 1/1 human wizard. At the beginning of each player's pre-combat main phase, add green to that player's mana pool.
Hey,
Hey,
Hey.
that's a human?
he said the thing. Yeah, I guess because it would. I think
They're all human.
they're all humans.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
foot.
Even-
Okay. I thought it had like a satyr's leg there. I'm like, that's not a human. No, it's just because the scan is so crappy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a toe and that's a heel. That's not like a backwards knee and a hoof. Okay, we're good. I was so confused. So yeah, Magus of the Vineyard is really powerful, but it's also really powerful for your opponent first.
Yeah.
Yeah, and without mana burn in the game, there's no like plan to try to overload your opponent on
Yeah,
anything.
there's literal zero downside other than your opponent. Well, for your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you play this on turn 1, then on their turn 2, they've got potentially 4 mana to play with.
Yep.
Granted, you'll get that next turn, but they get it first. There's a reason why rolling for initiative is such a big thing in role-playing games, because you get to set the pace.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I feel like these are all pretty solidly rares.
Yeah. I think they are right on with that.
Yeah.
But there's another cycle here that you might feel differently about.
The legendary grandeur creatures?
The pack.
Well, those are two different cycles. Which one do we want to talk about first?
Nah, let's do the packs. You led into that pretty hard.
I did, didn't I?
So the pacts they're all instant, right?
Seems that way.
Titan, what's
Yeah.
the other one? Summoner. Yeah, okay. So they are all instants, but they're all instant. This was a huge thing when the set came out. They're all instants that cost 0.
Yeah, and they actually have a casting cost of 0, unlike
Yeah, not like the suspend cards without a casting cost from Time Spiral that had no cost, so you couldn't just play them. These have an actual cost of literal 0. But, so they cost 0, they do their thing, and then they all say at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay some amount, and if you don't, you lose the game!
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's your future self casting something backwards in time to help you. So if you don't actually pay for the spell, that means you broke the timeline and you just kind of fall out of existence.
Yeah, and you cause
A
a
paradox.
paradox, and the world ends. So way to go. Good job, stupid.
You turn into a baby. You know.
I see this as an absolute win. No, it's a endgame joke. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing.
Oh, okay, and I was following up with that. Hey, we're on the same page and everything. All right, so the pacts, that's the big thing about them, is they're free, but you have to pay later or else you lose.
Yes.
What they actually do, by and large, is whatever. Because they're all just, small instant effects. Or medium-sized instant effects. But they're... Like, the tension is you don't want to be writing checks or casting spells that your ass can't cash. Wait, no, hang on. I'm mixing my metaphors. You don't want to be baking pies that your ass can't eat or something. I don't know. So the Intervention Pact is the white one. It says, and I love the little text that says Intervention Pact is white, because this was before they worked out the color identity marker on the card.
Color indicator?
Yeah, whatever that's called.
Which I've even heard, even with those, it's an issue for colorblind players, so the text is still helpful.
I mean, it's got the white mana symbols on it.
True.
Like, this is not an accessibility thing. This was a rules thing. Anyone who says, well, it's an accessibility thing, they are wrong. They're trying to make Wizards designers look better at this than they are. Intervention Pact is white is on the card because otherwise it's a colorless card, and that's weird, so they had to put it on the card.
I got you.
But anyway, it says, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent that damage, and you gain life equal to the damage prevented this way. And the next turn cost is 1 white.
And
so
this could be fairly important because this can be a big, I'm about to lose. Oh, wait, I don't lose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm at 4. You're swinging with this 5/5. Oh, I'm at 9.
Yeah, that's important.
So
it's interesting because of all of them, this is one of the ones that I almost don't even want to play too early in the game anyway. Like, turn 1, I play a Goblin Guide, I swing at you, and I'm like, oh no, I have to play an Intervention Pact. Wait, what? I'm not as worried about that as I am, the 7/7 on turn 6 or something. So there is still an incentive to play this early, but it's not nearly as pressing as it is later when you can pay the cost anyway.
And when you're probably out of other things to do. Or more likely to be out of things to do.
Yeah.
Or later in the game when you don't need all of your mana every turn. Or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
You've all played Magic. You know how this works.
We do, and we have. So the blue one is the one that kind of... I mean, these are all impactful. And we'll talk about whether or not they're mythic. But these all made a big splash, I think. But the blue one is the one that I think caught a lot of people's attention because Force of Will exists. So, Pact of Negation for 0 mana, it's blue, has counter target spell. So it's a straight up unconditional counter spell. And at the beginning of your upkeep, next upkeep, pay 3 and 2 blue, so a total of 5. If you don't, you lose the game. But the ability to just simply say, no, your spell doesn't resolve, regardless of what turn it is, regardless of what hoops they had to jump through to cast it in the first place, any of that. Just straight up no is, needless to say, incredibly powerful. And there's a
Yes.
reason that this one caught people's attention. And
Yeah,
there's a reason why it cost 5 to not lose.
and it was an actual, impactful card. But a big part of the application for it was protecting combos and other nonsense. Because if you're doing something that'll just make you win, then you don't have to worry about what happens next turn because the game isn't going to advance that far.
Yep.
Yeah, instead of being used as a no to keep your opponent from winning, it was a no to keep your opponent from stopping you from winning.
Mhm.
So yeah. But yeah, this was the iconic pact that everyone remembers.
Mhm.
The
There's another one. We'll get to that eventually.
Yeah.
true.
All of them saw some use, I think.
I don't know about intervention.
Yeah, I don't remember the white one showing up
Yeah.
except in.
I think I heard
in-
about some fringe application of the red one, but
It reminds me a little bit of the Titans, where at some point each of the Titans was played, but some of them were played a lot more consistently than others.
well, for the Titans, I would say there was some point where each of them was the best, not just played, but the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Moved around a lot. For the pacts, no, the red one and the white one never got to that point.
Oh no, there was some deck that used the red one.
I know, but I don't even. I know it was something weird, but I don't even remember what it was.
I don't either, but it was something weird. But it was a real thing.
Yeah.
So Slaughter Pact is the next one. Nice and simple. Destroy target non-black creature. Pay 2 and a black later.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, nothing really huge there. Nice and easy non-black creature removal. Yay.
Yeah.
All right. So hey Mike, what's the red one do?
So the red one is Pact of the Titan, and that makes a 4/4 red giant creature token. And then at the beginning of your next upkeep, you have to pay 4 and 1 red, or else lose the game. So a 4/4 giant for 5. So an instant speed 4/4 giant for 5. It's good stuff,
Yeah, not bad.
but not
Yeah.
like super.
Yeah.
When these came out, I honestly had a hard time being like, why does this one cost 5? I don't get why that one was so expensive. But no, it's really, 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 really good. So
Yeah.
there's a reason.
And then the last one is the green one. Oh, there it is. So what's that do, Dirk? Because you're typecast.
Summoner's Pact. Search your library for a green creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. And at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 2 and 2 green, so a grand total of 4.
Yeah.
Or you lose the game.
Was this one used much?
Yeah, it was part of Amulet Titan. It was a huge part of Amulet Titan.
Oh. Right.
Not just for the Titan, but there was an earlier version of the deck that also had like an alternate win condition with Hive Mind. So it would play Summoner's Pact and Pact of Negation, and maybe also sometimes Slaughter Pact, depending on who it was, to eke out a surprise win with Hive Mind sometimes.
That's right. Weird times back then.
Mhm.
So okay, now that we've gone through what they do and what they cost, what do we feel about the pacts?
I think these could be mythic.
Yeah. If there was only one mythic cycle in this small set, I think this could be it. Just because of how flashy, not all the effects are flashy, but some of them are. But all of them, the design of the card itself is flashy because of how it bends the rules of the game even further. Like, I know that the pitch spells in alliances were controversial, um, because oh, you can be doing things when you're tapped out. That's wrong. You should,
Yep.
if your opponent has their shields down on the board, then you should be able to trust that they have their shields down.
Right.
And this tapped into that similar space.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I remember, like, because we were all together and playing when the set came out, the packs sort of blew our minds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
And-
yeah, I could see, but then on the flip side of that, all of the effects are kind of, like I said, small to medium sized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, medium sized. So,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I could
None of
also
them-
see just looking at them and going, I mean, they don't do a whole lot in making them rare. But I tend to lean more towards what Mike said. If there's only one, then this could totally have been it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I think that the fact that even if they are small to medium effects, it's the cost that sets them apart. And if anything, even the fact that they can cost you the game really makes you stand up and pay attention. Like, even if it was like, beginning of your next upkeep, pay 2 and 2 green. If you don't, you lose 5 life or something like that, and discard a card or whatever. You'd be like, wow, I really want to pay that cost, but it says you lose the game, and to me that makes it even more interesting.
Yeah. It makes the effect seem bigger
Yeah,
because the game could just end.
totally. And that's without even getting into shenanigans of like, hey, you're gonna cast a pact now, and they're like, I'm not playing pact, and they're like, oh, you are now.
Well, I look back at a lot of the mythics that we had. So if we're talking about non-legendary cards that have been mythics, I think a good chunk have been instances, haven't they?
Instance.
Yeah, instance cards.
Could be. I'd have to see a list. That's too much for me to carry off on the top of my head.
Do the calculations really quick, Mike.
I mean, I don't think card type matters so much for
But
rarity.
Yeah, but looking at the fact, even though these are medium abilities, like the Pact of the Titan, you get a 4/4. You obviously would, if you're looking for that giant, it's either a guy's about to attack me, so I'm gonna throw a giant down real quick, or you play it right before your turn, so that way you have a big giant to swing with on your return.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an effect that even though technically it costs 5, you can do that anytime. It's again gives you the ability to do this ability at any point in time that you choose, which again adds a level of let's say surprise, but like Brian was talking about before, it makes it so the game is interesting. It adds a level of complexity to the game. I see this as being borderline mythic. Some more than others.
So we're like 80% of the way there, between 80 and 100% of the way there. Is that about right?
I
That
would
sounds
say
about right,
yes.
yeah.
Feels like.
Okay. Okay. Now, Mike mentioned another cycle, and
Chewie mentioned another cycle.
shoot, you guys just sound alike. I don't know what
Steve
to tell you.
mentioned
All you-
another
all-
cycle.
All you white boys. So,
I
but
can
yeah,
hear Mike going, "You son of a." So yeah, we've
So the
we've got
other,
the grandeur cycle.
yeah, which this is a really neat effect. So just to take as an example, there's one legendary creature in each color, and each of these is a callback. It's supposed to be like a descendant or something or relative of a legendary creature from Magic's history. And the white one is Boris, Samite Guardian. And who was the Samite healer who was like had protection
Oh
from
crap.
things?
Orim. Orim didn't have
Orim.
protection from things. She just tapped to prevent up to 3 damage to a creature or
Okay.
player,
Thank you.
which is a
Thank
big
you.
effect to have to just tap, no mana spent.
It is. It is. Who was the guy in Mercadian Masks that had protection from stuff? Well, that
Uh,
doesn't matter.
Chomano had protection
Shomano.
from creatures.
Thank you. Maybe Chomano and Orim got together. I don't know. But
I think
that
they
has
did, maybe.
maybe that's where I'm getting this from. Anyway, this is Oris, Semi Guardian. For 1 and 2 white is a 1/3 legendary human cleric. Has the ability tap, prevent all damage that be dealt to target creature this turn, and her grandeur ability. Grandeur. Discard another card named Oris Samite Guardian. Target player can't play spells this turn, and creatures that player controls can't attack this turn. Which is, what's the thing that they always put on the Isochron Scepter?
Orim's Chant.
Orm's Chant.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, back before EDH was a really big thing, you would play these 60 card decks or whatever, not 100. And, if you're playing with legendary creatures, it's this tension of, well, I want to make sure I draw it, but I can only have one out at a time. So Grandeur says, oh, you've already got one of these out. If you've got another one in hand, pitch it for some sort of neat effect. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
So all
Yeah.
of these creatures will have grandeur. And we can talk about all of them, and I feel like every single one should be rare. But that's my take on it. But it
Look at
more
Brian
has to
just
do
jumping
with,
the gun.
yeah. Well, it's more just the how
Spoilers.
Grandeur is even supposed to work. Is you want to have more copies of this. That doesn't mean that, oh, just because something is mythic you won't be able to get more copies, but I feel like it's a bit counterintuitive that way.
Yeah, if something's I mean, for something like this, if it's a compelling card that people are going to want to play with, and it's all about having a bunch of copies of it, then if it is at all compelling enough for people to want to play it and always play 4 copies, then making it mythic is just a major pain for everyone.
Yeah, but
Exactly.
since when has
Thank
Wizards ever used that as a discouragement for making something mythic?
Maybe, but like see like if it was just, oh, discard a human cleric or something, or even a legendary human cleric, that'd be one thing.
But
But
no, I
it's
mean,
no, you
listen
want
to yourself. You're like, oh, well, if people want to play with 4 of these, then they wouldn't make it mythic. Have you ever seen any cards Wizards has printed at mythic? Like, if they want to make something mythic that people want to play 4 of, that means they're gonna sell more boxes.
I get that. I do. But
Okay,
Mike,
yeah,
you get where I'm
to the
you
people
get
who are invested, but not to the people who only buy some and then trade
Wizards
here.
doesn't care about those people.
Okay, I don't know how we got on this subject, but let's just keep going and ignore it.
okay. All right.
I mean, we got on the
So
subject when you said something that is blatantly not what Wizards does. Like I know that's who we were back then when this card was printed, so I guess that's where our brain goes, but like think of all of the 4-ofs that have ever been in any deck that are, oh, these are mythics. Like it just seems like a non-starter to me.
we're clearly not
All
seeing
right,
eye to
well,
eye on this.
my
So
fault for bringing it up then.
Well, no, I'm
no,
not. I'm not calling you stupid or anything. I don't understand where that mindset came from.
I think Mike and I were on the
Because it
same.
wouldn't make any sense to design it that way. It's what I said is where it came from.
Maybe in a perfect world?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Who are we
I-
on right now?
Mike,
that was Oris.
I see, Mike, I see your point, and I think I tend to agree with Mike on this one. So, but that's the white one. Again, it taps to prevent all damage to a creature, so that's pretty big. And the Grandeur effect is a super powerful effect. An Orm's Chant,
An Orange Chant
like,
that you can't easily counter. Like, you
yeah,
have to have a, what's that called? Stifle
a
effect.
stifle, yeah, because it's an ability, it's not a spell.
Yeah,
So,
which is pretty big.
yeah. All right, so that's the white one. We
That's
can
the
talk about
white
if it's
one.
mythic, but let's finish going through the cycle first.
Yeah.
Well, the blue one is Linnaeus Zephyr Mage. So human wizard. That's a 3/3 for X and 2 blue and tapped. Return target creature with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. And then Grandeur. Discard another card named Linnaeus Zephyr Mage. Target
Lanessa.
player return. Do what?
Lanessa.
Lanessa. My bad. Target player returns a creature he or she controls to its owner's hand, then repeats this process for an artifact, an enchantment, and a land.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd consider this one to be. I think this one's about mythic. That's a lot of bouncing going on.
I mean that is a whole lot of bouncing.
Although they do get to choose.
It's
Which
true.
makes it slightly
Target player
less.
returns a creature he or she controls to their owner's hand, then repeats this.
Yeah.
That is true.
But it is
So-
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It is a lot of stuff.
It's a multi for one.
And depending on
That's-
what's out there,
Mhm.
that could really wreck the player.
Oh yeah, you're almost certainly looking at multiple turns worth of mana that you've just nullified by discarding a
Correct.
card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they might not have all of those things. Like they might not have a creature and an artifact and an enchantment on the board, but they're not going to be going wide on all three of those things at once. So
Yeah,
if they have all those different things,
because like enchantment creatures didn't even exist at this point.
no. But because you get to choose, because the player gets to choose, you also have a pretty impressive angle for a defensive play with this. Because you get to choose to save. If you target yourself, you get to save your choice stuff from something bad that's about to happen.
Oh yeah, like Brian sets off his Nevinyrral's Disc, and you're like, oh yeah, well I'm gonna discard my Lanessa and bounce.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Including you could bounce your Lanessa,
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
which makes my face hurt.
Discard my Lanessa to get my Lanessa.
Who is?
But can you just replay? What? Shut up.
Who is Lanessa a callback to?
Alexi Zephyr Mage
I think
Yeah,
so,
there we
yeah.
go.
from Prophecy.
I mean,
And the cost of her activated ability is kind of a callback to Alexi, because she was a spell shaper. It was like blue X, tap, discard 2 cards, bounce X creatures or something like that.
yeah. It's kind of dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It was super mana intensive, but repeatable bounce is. Ooh. There's a reason why everyone in our group really grew to hate AJ's cap size.
Or was that AJ?
AJ had one.
I played capsize too.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
probably
well.
weren't a dick about it.
Maybe.
I just remember AJ's more. So, I know that I just did the white one, but I need to do the black one. Because I
Because it's
have to.
awesome.
Because it's awesome and for reasons.
Brian
So
used to beat us with this one.
yeah, I had a deck that literally had this, and the whole point was this: Corlash, heir to Blackblade for 2 and 2 black, legendary zombie warrior, star. His power and toughness are each equal to the number of swamps you control. You can pay 1 and a black to regenerate him, and his grandeur ability is you discard another Corlash. Search your library for up to 2 swamp cards. Up to 2. Jeez, that still feels like a lot. Put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library.
He
That
was
is
already
so
good to begin
crazy.
with,
Yeah,
and his
I
grandeur was
loved
just better.
Yeah,
I loved
Corlash is
this deck.
ridiculous. Corlash
Yeah.
is my favorite of these, like hands down.
Oh yeah, same here. Corlash was the pre-release promo for Future Sight,
Yeah.
and I ended up collecting 4 of the promo version to put in one of my decks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I still have mine somewhere.
Hey, Gothic with the 60-month resub. Thanks, buddy. That's not a small number. That's 5
Yeah.
years.
And because it says swamp card and not basic swamp, you can get multi-type lands. As
Yeah,
long as it's
like
swamps.
like Urborg. So my deck was all 4 copies of this guy and as many raised dead effects as you could get to just put him back in your hand. There was one from Cold Snap that you could continuously rebuy, and I just was pitch this, get the swamps, bring it back to my hand, pitch it again, and then eventually put a Loxodon Warhammer on it, and swing.
Oh, because by then
Because
you
that's
had
what you do.
just a stupid number of swamps between that and probably playing a couple along the way.
Yep. I tended to play a lot of swamps. Yes.
And then the fact that he regenerates himself.
Yes, made it.
It's
very,
almost
very difficult.
unfair.
Yes,
And-
it is.
And he's black, so it made it. He didn't die to Doomblade.
Couldn't even
Or
slaughter pact
terror.
him.
No slaughter pact.
And you
Nothing.
probably had enough swamps at that point that you always just had enough out to regenerate him once or twice.
I generally did not pass without 2 swamps up.
Yeah.
Depending on if I'm playing against you guys, maybe 4. So yeah, I have fond memories of Corlash, and because I am so I remember him so much, I'm gonna completely sit out from the discussion because there's no way I am not 100% biased, just straight up.
I would
Alright.
say he's mythic.
So next up was Terox. Terox Bladewing, who is a callback to Rorik's Bladewing. Oh yeah, Corlash is a callback to Dakin Blackblade. Because he's the heir to Black. Okay.
Yeah,
So Terox Bladewing for 2 and 3 red is a 4/3 dragon with flying and haste, which that's pretty great. These days that's kind of underpowered, but But then the grandeur ability is he gets +X until end of turn, where X is its power. So he doubles his power for free when you discard another Terox.
yeah,
which-
you could.
By itself
Play this-
is just 8, and that's not a small number.
Yeah, and the next time it's 16, if it's the same turn. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's a very interesting game with Terox specifically about, can you accumulate more than one?
Yeah, because discarding multiples of the rest are, fine, but it's the same whether you do it now or later. Whereas with Terox, if you do it now, it's, 8 damage. But if you do it, if you do one now, it's 8 damage. But if you do multiples, then that goes up exponentially instead of linearly. So
It gets really dumb really fast, with the potential of dealing 32 damage.
yeah, if you can find them all, yeah, that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I feel like Terox is one of the early cards they showed in the previews.
think you're right.
I feel like the art and the name and everyone went, Blade Wing? Wait, what?
I think that's about right. Yeah.
So yeah, he's a pretty happy Dacron. Look at him. He's so mad. And then the last one is Baru. Baru's weird. What's Baru do?
Have I done one of these? Maybe not. So, Baru is 3 green green for a legendary human druid, a 4/4, so a 4/4 for 5. And whenever a forest enters the battlefield, just enters the battlefield, not even under your control.
Yeah.
Whenever a forest enters the battlefield, green creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain trample until end of turn. So the grandeur ability is discard another card named this guy. Create an XX green worm creature token, where X is the number of lands you control.
Yeah, this one always struck me as a little weird. Although I guess you're making a fatty and then giving it trample, so maybe it's not actually weird.
So you do a lot of land searching, have him out, and then play his copy when you've got, like, however many lands are, drop this thing, and because it's a green creature that you can play a forest that turn, right after you do him, it's +1/+1, gains trample, assuming that he has the ability to attack.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about Baru, is there? He's a callback to Kamal.
Yeah.
Kamal, yeah, Fist of Krosa.
Oh, did we say who Korlash was a callback to? I don't remember.
Yeah, Dakin.
Okay. I couldn't remember
Dakin.
when I said it out loud.
So, are these mythic? I know we started to get into a discussion of this, and we got a little off track, and I was responsible for part of that. And I understand where Mike's coming from, and I understand where Chewy's coming from. Divorcing ourselves for a moment from whether or not Wizards is a good company and whether or not Wizards cares about the well-being of its players from a marketing perspective.
Yeah, I mean, so they have used rarity to control that before. Like, Relentless Rats was uncommon, and maybe it shouldn't have been uncommon, when there was another one that was printed in a core set much, much later, a few years ago, that was common, with kind of a similar effect. And other things that, there can be as many of this in a deck as you want, have been printed at common. I think Relentless Rats might be the only one that was uncommon.
Didn't Relentless Rats get... I don't remember which one was which.
Relentless Rats got +1/+1. The newer one that was common got +1/+0. I can't remember if it's called Rat Swarm or Rat Colony or what.
Something like... I thought it was a one toughness thing. That might be part of the reason why they felt safe dropping it to common, though. Because having that at common and in limited would have been... So looking at it from a purely design perspective, like, I get where Mike is coming from when he says, well, why would they make them mythic if they want people to have them?
Yeah, because part of the design of the card is play as many of these as possible.
Right.
Ah, okay, that's the difference that you were pointing out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to get to.
And that's where
understand.
That's where I was coming from as well.
Okay,
So.
I now I got you. But you were like, if people want to play 4 of these, they wouldn't make it mythic. I'm like, are you high? Like,
yeah. I mean, people want to play 4 of every good card, but that's part of the design of these cards. Yes, that's the part I didn't articulate.
Okay, now I see what you mean. So from that, they should be rare.
Yeah.
The problem is the power level on like 2 of these is just 3 of these is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Although without other shenanigans, you only get 3 maximum uses out of each of these ridiculous abilities, which I guess
Unless you have some sort of recursion.
thus the without other shenanigans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like Oris's grandeur ability is insane. Linessa's is really good. Corlash is
Stupid.
Fantastic.
I mean, in multiplayer, it's really great. Not in multiplayer, I'm not. This is instant speed. I just realized it doesn't say anywhere on here.
It's instant speed. You have to spend a card, but it's instant speed, no mana, double, explosive vegetation.
I just realized none of these say anything about sorcery limitation. What the hell, dude?
Yeah, you can do it whenever you want. You have to spend a card, but you have to spend no mana. For Oris, you're not getting a big savings on mana because a kicked chant is 2 white, but still, a kicked chant is a huge effect.
Yeah.
For Linessa, you're bouncing maybe 4 things, probably averaging 2.5. For just,
I was gonna say you're getting at least 2 bounces though. Yeah.
Yeah. Terox is I think Terox is at the back of the list, but if it works, wow.
Yeah, I think the part that I highlighted is that it gets better if you do it in multiples, whereas everything else is the same whether you do it in multiples or separately. Is like a bit of a consolation for Terox being in and of himself weakest.
Yeah. And Baru, getting at least like let's be realistic, at least a 6/6 or a 7/7 for just a card with no mana spent. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I can see these going like literally either way, depending on if they leaned into, wow, these are really good and game breaking, or these are meant to be, in multiples in the same deck.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I don't know. Chat, what do you guys think?
I just saw chat and Dementor's comment about Lord of the Undead being silly with Corlash. That's right, because Corlash is a zombie.
Yeah, I almost said when Brian read it out, I always forget that he's a zombie.
Just gets better every time you look at him.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for him, and that's why I kind of wanted to, as much as I love him, it may sound contradictory, but like there's no way, none, for me to separate my experience from an objective standpoint of this card. So
yeah,
I mean, we all love Corlash, but I don't know if that means anything as far as rarity or not.
Corlash is also, I think, the most I guess in terms of self synergy, he and Terox are kind of tied, but Corlash's self synergy is more permanent than
it lasts longer.
Terox.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Corlash is more long term. Terox is like for her, win the game now. Terox very much reminds me of a self-contained channel fireball and not the website. Just a straight up win out of nowhere.
Which is a very good illustration of the differences between red and black's.
Oh yeah.
Methods of doing things.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know how to call this one. Like at all.
Well, so here's the thing. That's the last cycle. Yep. I don't know how many of these other monocolored cards are even contenders.
Yeah. So let's leave our cycle of legendaries. We'll circle back. Let's just go back to our monocolored cards. Let's look at white. Is there anything in white that could be Mythic.
I don't-
thought about Barren Glory because it's so weird, but
Because
then
it's an alternate win the game.
well, and I feel like most of the alternate win the game cards we end up leaving on rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this one is so incredibly bizarre that like I could easily see us going. I mean,
it's a functional imprint. It's a functional reprint of an uncard.
yeah, the cheese stands
which
alone.
is kind of nuts. Yeah. I also looked at Barren Glory, but I was thinking back to like the onslaught block cycle of alternate win conditions, and I'm pretty sure
we landed on rare.
Rare. Yeah. I think it's interesting, and I think, like Mike says, the fact that the cheese stands alone, but in a set is impressive
and hilarious.
But it's also super niche.
Yeah. And I think at this point they would have learned the lesson of having really bad, pointless cards at Mythic.
Yeah. I think it's a really neat sort of like, hey, here you go. You open up in a booster pack and see what you can do with it. Maybe it inspires a new player. That's good for rare. It does not need to be at Mythic. So honestly, I don't think any. I also looked at Set's Tiger, but I don't think any of these other white cards are Mythic. So does anybody disagree?
I could maybe see Imperial Mask.
That's just weird.
And that's the only reason I could maybe see it is because it's just weird.
But do they put a teammate card at Mythic?
I mean, it functions the same without it, but yeah, I don't think Ivory Mask would have been a Mythic either, would it?
Yeah.
I guess it might have been. Who knows? I don't know. But like Daybreak Coronet, no.
No. Angel of Salvation, no.
Definitely not. I had to read Angel of Salvation 3 times because I kept getting bored halfway through it.
Wow. That is harsh. Poor Angel of Salvation. But, I mean, Angel of Salvation is rare, but is almost uncommon, right? So...
I think the fact that it has Flash and Convoke and costs $1 billion is probably what keeps it from being uncommon, but I see what you mean.
Yeah. So, okay.
Going back to the legendary creatures, JT Huffy said, I'd say no because in the Commander era, the Grandeur mechanic is useless. Yeah, but Commander wasn't a thing yet at this point. Which I responded in the chat. But
catering to it,
this is one of these things where we always try to think about what was going on at the time. If we were to look at now versus then, they're even more rare because...
I don't even think they'd print these cards nowadays because, Commander players will riot.
I can't play this how do I get more copies of this in Commander? Yeah.
You make a token copy, return the real one to your hand.
Mike, shut up.
Mike, bad. I mean... kind of want to try that now, damn it, but okay, but to keep moving, white,
there's just nothing in white that jumps out.
But if you think white's blue, have you seen? If you think
white's blue, have you seen blue's black?
That was a Freudian slip right there. If you think white is bad for Mythics, have you seen blue? Because Maelstrom Jin is not cutting it. It's not.
Yeah. Like I could maybe see Take Possession as a split second control magic. Maybe.
I looked at that one too, and I looked at Venser because he is super integral to the story. Even though they've done him dirty, but he's pretty important, and he's a pretty powerful card, so maybe Venser.
Yeah, Venser is one that I had on my list as a probably. Yeah.
Ironically, Narcomoeba shows up on my list because it's uncommon. It's been reprinted at rare in like
Yeah.
other products, and Narcomoeba is more powerful than most of these other cards. But it was printed at uncommon, so I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
Spellweaver Volute is just weird, and Nyx is super niche. But Venser, Shaper Savant for 2 and 2 blue, 2/2 human wizard, legendary creature. He has flash, and when he enters the battlefield, return target spell or permanent to its owner's hand. And he was one of the first things that could do that, like with a spell, where you
Yeah.
really saw that. He was like a Mystic Snake plus, and he saw some play.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he
So,
was everywhere. So like
so
he
I
does
mean,
like he's a legendary creature that's integral to the story. He's got a unique ability that is costed pretty fairly. I'm pretty sure Venser would have been a mythic.
I think maybe him. I think yeah. He's probably the closest thing outside the cycles we've talked about. And then
Yeah.
but then the rest of blue, pfft, that's my
Yeah,
official.
no.
I
I don't
love
even
Take
know what
Possession.
Spellweaver Volute does.
It uh gives Mike, explain what it does.
Oh boy.
You don't
Or
have
maybe
to.
don't.
Mike.
You don't. No,
Okay,
never mind.
so it's an aura that actually enchants an instant in a graveyard. Okay,
Yeah.
and whenever you play a sorcery, you copy the enchanted instant, then exile it from your then you exile it from your graveyard. Wait, sorry, I didn't explain all of that.
Abort. It's okay.
You copy you get a free copy when you play a sorcery. You get a free copy of the enchanted instant. Then you exile that instant from your graveyard and attach Spellweaver Volute to another instant in your graveyard.
Yeah, so it's a
So
weird.
so it like jumps from instant to instant in your graveyard, and you make copies of them by casting sorceries.
Yeah. It's a weird. Like it would almost, if it didn't cost 5 by itself, it would almost be good in like the counterburn style of deck.
Mm-hmm.
But
I forgot it cost 5. I thought it was 4.
yeah, so did I. And I looked over and I went, that says 3. Why does that say 3? Oh my god.
And then Take Possession is a really neat card, but to me just feels like a really neat rare.
Yeah, the fact that it costs 7, I think, makes it fine as a split second control magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Permanent. That says permanent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I forgot.
Give me your land.
I was thinking more give me your planeswalker. Because they didn't exist
yeah,
yet.
now. Yeah.
I mean,
Even
they
though
were
there's a
supposed
word-
to.
The word planeswalkers on the card down here we haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because planeswalkers are supposed to be in Feature Site, right? But they didn't get the design ironed out.
They were, yeah. The design just wasn't working. It didn't feel right yet. But that original design was used as an inspiration for sagas, so they were still able to use it eventually.
I don't think I knew that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I heard that. Yeah. So,
All right, so that's blue.
enough about stuff that isn't mythic. What about black?
You
I'm
just said enough
try-
about stuff that isn't mythic.
I tried for a long time to make Bitter Ordeal ridiculous, to like try to pull out an ungodly number of cards in somebody's deck. I've always loved like that sort of effect, but it is not as easy as it looks like.
It's very hard. It can
So-
be done, but it's very hard.
So Bitter Ordeal is a really neat build around me rare. Bridge from Below.
Mm.
Do
So-
you think they realized at the time what they were doing?
No, they didn't understand it.
I
Go
can't.
ahead.
I know that Bridge from Below was powerful in a very specific deck, but I cannot for the life of me remember which one.
Isn't it Dredge? Or didn't it and Narcomoeba go together?
Yeah, it and Narcomoeba went together.
Okay.
Good job, guys. And Icarid, or
Icarid might have been one of the pieces. The thing is that you'd burn through as much of your deck as possible and use Narcomoebas and Icarid, since it could return for free, to flashback Dread Return to get the real thing that you were going to kill your opponent with. Sometimes that was a big creature. Sometimes it was an uncommon red-white thing from Ravnica that gave your creatures +1/+1 in haste, and you used it to pump up your team of zombies that the bridge had created.
that's right.
Zombies. I cannot. Yeah, it was some uncommon borrowed card.
I can't think of the name of that damn card either.
I can see it though. He's on fire.
Yeah, it was one of the elementals.
Yeah. But yeah.
Okay, so Bridge from Below. Flamekin Zealot. Thank you, Al.
There. Yes.
So Bridge from Below, for 3 black mana, is an enchantment that doesn't do anything on the battlefield.
Nope.
So I don't know why it costs 3
Literally
black mana, but whatever. So it says, whenever a non-token creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, you get a 2/2 zombie. So when one of your things dies and Bridge from Below is in the graveyard already, you get a free zombie. Hey! And it also says, when a creature is put into an opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, if Bridge from Below is in your graveyard, exile Bridge from Below. So if your stuff is dying, you're getting zombies, but if something of theirs dies, then no more zombies for you.
Mm-hmm.
How did this work in Dredge?
Well, it was called Dredge because part of the plan was just to get as many cards from your library into your graveyard as possible. That would make Narcomoeba jump to the battlefield, and that would put Dread Return and whatever else you wanted to animate in the graveyard, and it would put Bridge from Below in the graveyard. The Dredge cards were just enablers to get your library into your graveyard.
I'm sorry, my brain is thinking of a manaless Dredge deck. This wasn't in a manaless Dredge deck, was it?
I think it was. No,
Maybe?
wait. Well, yeah, because Manaless Dredge played Narcomoeba too. That was also part of the plan. I don't think it was in the Balustrade spot. I don't know. Anyway, no, it wasn't in the Balustrade spy deck.
So
anyway,
you look at the
the point is that if you have like 3 Bridge from Belows in your graveyard, and you sacrifice 3 Narcomoebas to flashback Dread Return, that's 9 zombie tokens right there.
Yeah.
So bringing in the Flamekin Zealot to give them +1/+1 in haste, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah.
That's what, 18, and no, it's 27 damage just from the zombies.
So I guess my question is, could this just be, without realizing, oh wow, we've created this kind of ridiculous combo, could they have realized this could be a mythic?
Nah.
It's a unique card. It's a enchantment that you want to be in your graveyard that triggers off of things dying. It's kind of neat.
That does literally nothing on the battlefield, which I still cannot get over.
So I think if I'm gonna say, what was it that I said might be a neat little, hey, a Barren Glory. If you think, oh, that's neat, kind of a build around me card, then this is in the same kind of thing. You open it up and you're like, oh, maybe I'll try to make this work.
Yeah, I mean, so you just said Bitter Ordeal is like a weird build around me card too, and that's what Bridge from Below feels like.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So I'm getting all my bitters and my
and your Barrens.
Barrens
I hate it when I get my bitters and my Barrens confused.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't think so.
Maybe not.
Because like without taking, without Dredge and insane like combo things like that. It's just a weird little card that might get you a couple of zombies. Because you're going to kill an opponent's creature, or they're going to sacrifice a creature, or block with it, or something. And then you're out of zombies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they had dumping your entire library into your graveyard in one turn or two turns, like, in mind when they made this.
I don't think they did, or this would work differently.
Wait, did Dredge even... Like, when was Dredge?
Dredge came... I'm trying to think of what order some of the stuff happened in. Ravnica would have had to become before Time Spiral because of the... No, wait. Because I'm trying to think of the storyline. Did Ravnica become... No, because Ravnica had...
I'm sorry, what's the question? What was the question?
Did Ravnica block come before or after Time Spiral block?
Immediately before.
Ravnica was right before time. It was Ravnica, okay. and then Cold Snap as a standalone, and then Time Spiral block.
So Dredge existed. Bridge from Below and Narcomoeba were printed in the same set. Dread Return was printed in Time Spiral. Maybe Future League just didn't catch it, or maybe they thought there was other stuff that could deal with it.
Future League was always just a few people working on things, whereas once stuff gets released into the public and the hive mind takes over. You know, they're gonna find things that the Future League just could not have conceived of. And frequently do. Or did. Or whatever.
Yeah. They still exist.
I think now they're a part of Play Design, maybe?
Yeah, it's called something else.
Yeah. So, what about Tombstalker? Just out of curiosity.
Feels very solid rare to me.
Yeah, it's rare. It was good. It was in a deck.
It was a good rare.
I mean, just thinking of like as a 2-drop 5/5 flyer. I think if it was like 7 and a black, I would have more like elbow room to say, yeah. I mean, this could be a mythic, but because it costs the 2 black, I think that probably narrows it, keeps it pretty standard and
No, rare. I agree with you. I think the way this gets to mythic is either you change one of the blacks to a generic, or you increase the cost slightly and add another relevant keyword. Doesn't have to be anything. Bump the power and toughness, or give it. I don't even know. Give it fear, so it's flying in fear, so like it has more. So that it has some more like woo to it. Right now, this is a very solid card that most people would just not find that exciting.
Yeah.
Until you realize it costs 2, but yeah. No, I mean,
I just wanted to have that exact discussion.
Yeah.
I don't actually think it's mythic, but I think it's worth having that.
No. Okay. Anything else in black? I just don't know that black has a whole lot going on this time.
I mean, I don't know the set has a whole lot going on.
Yeah. Well, let's keep moving because there is gold and colorless still to do.
Yeah. So red. So I think Pyromancer Swath could have been mythic. So for 2 and a red, it's a red rare enchantment, but hear me out. If an instant or sorcery source you control would deal damage to a creature or player, it deals that much damage plus 2 instead. But then it says at the end of turn, discard your hand. But like in the deck you're playing this in, you want to throw all the burn at their face anyway. So that's only kind of a drawback.
It's just very much invest everything. It's also in standard with original Ravnica, and Rakdos was Hellbent at the time. So
that's true.
I see Pyromancer Swath as a very, very good rare. Like I'm like, wow, that's really, really good. I was looking at Scourge of Care Ridges.
Yeah, that was one that was also on my possibly list. Although I had it lower than the Pyromancer Swath. Just because Pyromancer Swath seems like a good, okay, here it's a build around me card, but it's like more obviously powerful and it's cheap and it's now. I'm also stretching because the set kind of sucks for the purposes of this discussion.
Yeah.
Pyromancer Swath is a better card in most ways, but the Scourge is a dragon, and it's massive
with some stupid abilities.
And it has some of the most unique dragon art I've ever seen. Like, I remember seeing this card when it was printed and being like, this looks unlike most other dragons. Most other red dragons.
Like,
does anybody else feel like this might have been commissioned for a black card?
It would be, oh god, what was the word from the Jabberwock? It would be slithy.
Yeah.
Because it's very lithe and probably, we'll just say it's slimy. Shut up.
So, Pyromancer Swath may be power level and is super splashy. Scourge of Care Ridges for just like, oh my god, wow, big dragon sort of thing.
Big mythic dragon. Yeah. Plus, I mean, tell us what it does, because its abilities are kind of gross.
For 6 and 2 red, it is a 6/6 dragon. It's got flying, and has 2 activated abilities. For 1 and a red, it deals 2 damage to each creature without flying. So it breathes down fire on the ground. What's that called? Pyroclasm?
Yes.
And then for 5 and a red, it deals 6 damage to each other creature with flying. So it's a little bit like Earth Elemental and a little bit of Storm Elemental? Maybe I'm not thinking of the right thing, but it hits the ground or it hits the air, but it doesn't nuke itself.
Yeah, it's got a small earthquake or a big hurricane built in.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're not limited to only activating that first one once a turn, so you could pile more mana into it.
That is true, yeah.
Get a ton of damage.
Or, if they have a blocker, you just clear it out and hit them in the face for 6. So yeah, I can see that too as the, big mythic dragon. Because that is a thing they love to do.
Yeah. Honestly, my call would have been Steamflogger Boss as just further commitment to the joke.
Okay, I'm glad that you said that, because I was gonna say not exactly that. I wouldn't have brought up the joke. I was just gonna say, I think Steamflogger Boss is the obvious pick here, though.
I mean, so when it was printed, it was a joke. And Mark Rosewater even said, we're not doing contraptions. We have no plans to do contraptions. We put a phrase on a magic card. This was as close to an unset card in a set. This is almost like the reverse of Barren Glory, where Barren Glory took the cheese stands alone and made it into a magic card. This is almost taking a magic card and turning it into an uncard.
Yeah. So the joke, for those of you that are not, that weren't around back then. So Goblin, Steamflogger Boss, its creature type is Goblin Rigger. For 3 and a red, it's a 3/3. It says other Rigger creatures you control get +1/+0 and have haste. I don't think there were any.
There were not.
And if a Rigger you control would assemble a contraption, it assembles 2 contraptions instead. And, okay, remember, this is Future Sight, which was a set about looking forward into the future. And there's a bunch of cards and mechanics and whatnot from this set that have since become their own thing. But the Steamflogger Boss was like Rosewater's baby. It was always supposed to be a future that would never happen.
Yeah.
He was like,
it was just supposed to be like a little
joke.
Haha, yeah.
And then later, for reasons unknown, they finally made riggers and contraptions in, what was that set?
Unhinged?
Unstable.
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 Yeah. So, yeah. And
Steam Vlogger Boss got a reprint as the only non-silver bordered card in Unstable.
yeah, and according to I think it was 14 in the Discord, because someone pointed out that it was reprinted at I think Rare. Let me go check the Discord. Hang on. Yeah, it was pointed out that okay, Kim Ho said more importantly to make the joke stick, Steam Flugger Boss should be a mythic. So And then Violet said absolutely, though it was printed in Unstable as a rare. And 14 said it was printed in Unstable on the land sheet. The color of the rarity symbol was a convenient fiction. So I don't know. I don't have any personal knowledge of that, but 14 usually knows what he's talking about. So
Maybe it was just easier to put it there because
it wasn't silver bordered.
To give it that border, yeah.
Yeah. Probably. But even so, it was on the land sheet. So, like, yeah, I feel like with everything else being equal, they probably would have at least thought about making Steam Flugger Boss a mythic to keep the joke going. And like Mike said, to really commit to the bit.
Maybe.
I mean, a lot of people were mad about Steam Flugger Boss being essentially a hill giant in the rare slot, so they might not have. Right, hill giant. That's the 3/3 for 4 in red.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I see the point. I really do, but
I think before the changelings in Lorwyn, Moriok Rigger got an update to have the Rigger subtype, but
That's a black creature, right?
yeah, from Mirrodin.
Yeah. I remember thinking there aren't any, or there was one that was not a goblin.
Yeah, Moriok Rigger wasn't printed with that creature type, but it got an update later.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, it wasn't be until the changelings in Lorwyn that you would actually have Riggers.
That's true. Which was the next set, remember?
Yes.
So we've got a potential big dumb dragon, a potential flashy burn enchantment, and a hard maybe on the Steam Flugger Boss. All in red. So what about green? I guess we should get the Lurgoyf, talk about the Lurgoyf in the room. Tarmogoyf would not have been a mythic.
I agree.
Like, Tarmogoyf was $1 rare until the spikes in the tournament players realized it's a 4/5 for 2. And then it suddenly jumped up to be the most expensive card in standard
Ever. Yeah.
But
no, it's super efficient. It deserves all of the power that it deserves the notoriety it's gotten. It's not a mythic card.
No.
At least not at the time. It's definitely been reprinted at Mythic.
Oh, it has?
To help sell. Well, yeah, to help sell Master.
Yeah. Actually, every time it's been
Literally
reprinted.
every reprinting is mythic.
Yeah. But at the time.
At the time, it was just whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that all of the reprints are at Mythic, and they're all in reprint sets.
I'm looking at Force of Savagery, and it's
such a weird
probably
card.
Rare. I tried to make it work for a while. Force of Savagery for 2 and a green is a 8/0 with trample elemental. I think I used it at least once in my Pandemonium deck, just to be like,
see, now that's funny.
And then, of course, if you have any sort of Glorious Anthem effect, you're good. Or Gaia's Anthem, which was actually in Plane Shift or Planar Chaos.
Or you could always use one of the other rares on this list, Muragonda petroglyphs.
but this has trample.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
Oh, never mind then.
Yeah.
It's okay. So
Miragonda Petroglyphs is another fun card. Creatures with no abilities get +2/+2.
yeah,
But I think there's one card in Standard with no abilities. No, I don't think there are any. I think the Yargle and Multani is gonna be the one. Like, they've gotten away from vanilla creatures hard.
they have.
Even most of the
Yeah.
tokens seem to have an ability these days. It's ridiculous. Like, vanilla creatures, justice for vanilla creatures.
There are not very many.
But,
They're
like,
just, I mean, by definition, they're not exciting. So
true.
I play Marvel Snap. I've been into that for a little bit, and I
Oh,
was showing Mike.
snap. I'm sorry.
And I was showing Mike Marvel Snap while we were at the pre-release, and I was kind of giving him a rundown of some of the decks. And I mentioned the least favorite deck that I've ever seen is the Patriot deck, where it uses, well, the character Patriot, and he gives all of your cards, all of your characters with no abilities, +2 power. He's basically a petroglyphs, and I really don't like that card because first of all, it's a very spiky card. It actually has a very high win rate, and that by itself isn't a problem. But to me, it's almost like getting away from the point of playing this game. Is like, oh, you can play Wolverine, you can play, do all this crazy stuff, and one of the most winningest decks is play a bunch of vanilla creatures and a dude. And I don't know why, but it just bothers me. Like, I think I expressed that to Mike. So the petroglyphs, at least, you also have instants, you have sorceries, you have ways of making the deck a little more interesting. But in Snap, it's like, nah. So, petroglyphs is definitely rare because what about
Might even be
Quagnoth?
uncommon.
What
about
about
what?
Quagnoth?
Quagnoth.
Quagnoth.
Okay, so 4/5, split second, Shroud. And when an opponent makes you discard it, it goes back to your hand. And it costs 6. That's a whole lot of things that don't go together.
Yeah, it's like it's basically a Scragnoth that's been bumped up to also be anti-black and not just anti-blue. Well, no, never mind. Quagnoth is the anti-blue version. I'm sorry, I thought I had more stuff on it. It's a callback to Scragnoth from Tempest. That it was a green creature. It cost like 5 for a 3/4 that couldn't be countered and had protection from blue.
Yeah.
Quagnoth is basically the anti-black version of that, except without any specific reference to it. I mean, the anti-blue. I keep using the wrong words.
Oh, I think it's both, because black primarily has the discard. And blue, the split second is the anti-blue part.
Oh, yes.
It's
That's
like anti... What's the word I'm looking for? Interaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you can't counter it because it's got split second. You can't kill it once I play it because it's got Shroud. And you can't make me get rid of it because it goes back to my hand. Nah. I kind of hate this card now that I'm reading.
Yeah.
Nah. Yeah, I don't... No, I want to say?
So, not so much in green, then.
Not really.
Heartwood Storyteller has that special power where Brian can put 2 of them in his commander deck.
Ha. Ha. Yeah, for some reason, Heartwood Storyteller kept showing up in multiple copies in at least one commander deck. And I'm like, oh, I'll take it out. And then, what did I draw off the Heartwood Storyteller? Another, oh, God. So.
Oh
yeah.
my god,
No,
I've forgotten
that's
all
just
about
Mythic
that.
for me. that's just Mythic for me. But I think I'm gonna have to actually get off here in just a minute. S- uh, Repercussions from dinner. Let's just say that. So we're almost done.
All right.
The gold.
So where did we come down on wishes?
I think wishes are mythic.
I think they remain a continuing discussion.
I can't remember where we came down like on the episode because that was long enough ago that it's
Yeah,
fallen
it's
off.
been a while.
Yeah. I even named the
I don't.
episode Our Wishes Mythic.
Yeah, I don't know that we really reached a unanimous decision,
Hmm.
but
But I think the other
anytime.
two gold cards are pretty easy.
Yeah, Joyra is mythic, right? I mean, she's she and Teferi are two of the main characters in the set. Um, and she's this. Was this the first time she was given a card?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also
So
she's got that insanely unique ability, which is what I said
yeah,
about Vincer earlier.
Hmm.
insanely unique ability that also plays off of the theme of the set.
Yeah. So for those
So
of you that have been living in a hole for 2 mana and exile a non-land card in your hand, you put 4 time counters on the exiled card, and if it doesn't have suspend, it gets suspend. So essentially, you're just making any card in your hand a suspend card that counts down from 4,
Yeah.
which is sick.
did you say sick?
Yes.
Could have sworn you said thick, and I'm like, baby.
Well, no, she's
But
a 2/2.
okay, okay.
And then, like, Sliver
I
Legion is a 5-color Sliver Lord. I mean, they just make that mythic, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
Well, that was easy.
that feels pretty safe.
Oh.
What about a
What
Chroma's
wish-
Memorial? Did we complete the line here? Is Chroma's Memorial a mythic?
In
Yes.
other sets, it is.
Yeah.
I like the way everyone's like, yeah, like I asked a stupid question. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's straight up a mythic. Yeah.
Well, that was easy.
Yep.
And we'll have to refer back to our judgment set, Mythic Conscription, to determine whether or not Glittering Wish is. Actually, I don't even know. Because it specifies multicolored card, it's about the same as all the other wishes. So
I would say that it is.
I would go with whatever we came up with on that episode. So
Okay.
whatever that was. It sounds like we were leaning towards Mythic, but with time, who knows? What else? Is there anything else? Like none of the rest of this did
I-
much for me.
I think that's it. Cloud Key, I tried very hard to make into a thing. I tried to get out. I made a deck where the whole objective was to get out multiple copies of Cloud Key set to instant, and try to make Sapperling Burst recurrent. But that's just me being weird. That's not really a viable strategy. And Coalition Relic is one of the best mana producers ever,
It really is.
It's great.
but it only makes mana.
Yeah.
And it's not like Tolarian Academy only makes mana. Yeah, I think the rest of this is fine at rare. Take that, Sword of the Meek.
And
Why are you
the
here?
lands, no. Like Teleria
no.
West is an uncommon, Dryad Arbor is an uncommon, so we're not even looking at those.
Yeah.
And the rest of these are just, different flavors of dual lands, some of which have become their own thing, like their own cycle, some haven't.
Yeah. But just real quick, since I know it's time to wrap up, but I'm curious which ones have become cycles, which ones haven't.
Graven Cairns
Um,
became a cycle, right?
Raven Cairns became
Yes.
a cycle. Did
In Lorwyn.
did Horizon Canopy's concept just get turned into an enemy cycle, or were there also allied color lands in the cycle.
I
For
do
some
not,
reason, I can only see the enemy ones in my head.
I do not remember.
I wish I knew the answer to that question, Mike.
Did
It was in
the
I'm
Modern
with.
Horizons, I think.
did the
Modern
Nimbus
Horizons
Maze become a cycle?
I don't think so.
That's too bad. And River of Tears didn't either.
Mm-mm,
And Grove of the Burn Willows did not.
no.
Which really only makes the most sense with that color pairing anyway. Could you imagine Grove of the Burn Willows, but it's blue-black?
Or blue-white.
Sure. Yeah. Gain all the life you want, man. I'm not using it anyway. That's not how I'm going to win. So
I have no memory of the Horizon Canopy enemy color cycle.
So the only one we are absolutely
They were
sure
in
about
Modern
is
Horizon sets, which we didn't really talk about much.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
the only one we're really sure about is the Graven Carns.
Yeah.
Yes. And that turned into a complete
Like
full
10-card cycle.
10-piece
Yeah.
enemy and allied combinations.
Because it's a really good concept for dual lands.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I always played the hell out of Graven Cairns in any black-red deck I had because it's that good.
Mm-hmm.
And Horizon Canopy, I played the hell out of in any green-white deck. I always liked the concept of River of Tears. It's blue, but if you play the land, it's black. So it increased, tension, and you had to think about your turn more carefully. And then the Nimbus Maze adds white, but only if you control an island, and adds blue, but only if you control the plains, which is another neat concept for a dual land.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always the one you don't have. So it's always what you need,
Right.
which is cool. And if you have them both, then it's a straight up dual land. Yay. But yeah, sorry, other artifacts, but you're just, that ain't it, Chief.
Yeah. Agreed.
Wow, Sword of the Meek was an uncommon? Jesus Christ. I had forgotten.
Well, the silliness didn't exist yet.
Yeah, it took a while for that, didn't it? All right.
This is a set of Bridge from Below and Sword of the Meek and Dryad Arbor and all these things where they're like, it'll be fine. Half the set is not half. A fifth of the set is busted and the other half is like cool but meh.
Yeah.
I mean, there were just a ton of, because it was exploring not just the rest of the stuff going on in the time spiral block, but also the future and possible futures. Like, there are almost as many keyword abilities that appear on cards in this set as there did exist in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot.
Almost every last one of the keyword abilities in the game, including the new ones invented for this set and that only appeared in this set, appeared in it.
And I loved the set when it came out, and I'm not knocking the set. But looking back at it now, it's, for the purposes of our discussion, it was like, wow, this is not what I remember. But these are the cards I remember, but
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see from the perspective of time.
And also, it's a very niche perspective that we're coming at
Yeah.
it in this discussion of what would be mythic. Like
Mm-hmm.
a bunch of these are really good cards that are just not mythic.
Mm-hmm.
Like Goyf.
Yeah. And even what we're remembering from our first interactions with it back in the day, we were also coming from a unique perspective, because all of Time Spiral Block, with just tons of stuff from all different points of the game mashed together, that was just how we played Magic back at the dorm all the time.
It's true. Yeah.
So it
He's
didn't
not
seem,
wrong.
so it didn't seem weird. It seemed
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah.
And like, also, we were, at least Mike and I, were the target audience for this block.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, you remember all this old stuff? Here's a bunch of callbacks to it. And we were like, yeah.
Well, and even I, who'd been playing for about 3 years at that point, it's enough of like I know how the game works, but I've also seen some of this crap. You know, sorry, but actually, yeah, crap in most occasions in your guys's binders. So it's like I
Mm-hmm.
have just enough information that I'm like, yeah, I remember that. I get that. That's cool. Without the cynicism of where I am now, or yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And, like, they would never print a set like this for standard ever again because
No.
this drives away new players and like casual players who aren't invested in anything because there's so much going on. Like part of the reason we're having such a hard time with Future Sight here is there's no focus because, like Mike said, there's so much that they were trying to get done that, like, how many keywords have been in the most recent sets? Like 3, one of which is returning. Like they've really
Mm-hmm.
scaled back on shotgun blasting new keywords. So I think that's part of why we're having a hard time with this is because there's no they were just throwing everything at the wall. Not to see what sticks. They just threw it at the wall. Like,
Yeah.
which is part of
Well,
its charm for us. But again, for the purposes of this discussion, it makes a whole lot of God, there's nothing here.
yeah. And
But
then we get to have Mike explain cards.
yeah,
Like
Mike, what the hell is Spellweaver Volute? Is that even what it's called?
Yes.
Spellweaver Volute. Okay, it is. I'm proud of me. I remembered that.
Good job. I need to go. You
Yeah,
gentlemen, my final thought is I need to go. Uh,
that is a hell of a final thought.
excuse me. Sorry, I couldn't mute fast enough. Everybody, be safe, be happy. Mike, I'll talk to you and Ashley on Saturday.
Yes. We'll be there.
Dirk, I will not talk to you on Saturday.
I mean, you
Unfortunately.
could.
You could. All right. Everybody, have a great night.
Night B.
All
Amen.
right.
All right. Who's next?
My final thoughts. Um, this week has been like with regards to work and everything. I don't know if it's because we're further into the semester. I honestly don't know. I'm getting more burned out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that, again, like, I'm ready to leave the profession or anything like that. I'm ready for spring break to come. I'm ready for it to get here so I can take some time away and re-center myself and everything. Which also will give me time to actually be at my house and be able to do my thing. I think that's probably part of it too, is I want to be with all of my family. And doing the apart from each other thing has continued to wear on me
It's
and
stressful.
all that. It is. It wears on me. It's stressful. Yeah. So this week has been rough. I'm just glad it's Thursday and tomorrow I can go and be with my family and everything.
Yay.
So, and with that, I'm gonna head on to bed.
With that full-grown ass person who used to be a kid that I saw on New Year's and was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Trevor." I'm like, "Nuh-uh."
He turned 12.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's too many.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
I legit, chat or listeners, I legit, like, I just got done hugging Sam and I turned and I went, "Who are you?" Thinking that it was like some friend of Sam's or something that had come over to hang out. It was like, "Trevor." And I'm like, "Nuh-uh," in his face. I went, "Nuh-uh." I don't know if he knew how to react to that. He was like, "Yeah, I am." I was like, "Oh."
Very much. So, with that, I'm off to bed, guys. Have a good night.
All right.
All right,
Good.
night, Zerk. Nuh-uh. I think I've named this episode, Mike. I think it's gonna be Bitters and Barrens.
Yep. Can't get your bitters mixed up with your barons. You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. Anyway. So before Mike and I give our final thoughts, gonna weave in the Patreon thing. So hey, patreon.com/the mana pool. Get you you can become a lifeguard and get behind the scenes stuff and sponsorship shout out and early access and whatever. You know the deal by now. So let me thank our oh, okay. Excuse me, all the tea I've been drinking while Brian was talking has finally caught up with me. Okay, I can shout out our mythic lifeguards in, I don't know, this order. So thank you to Timu Hellas Haryu, Scuzzo, Pinball Witch, Mr. Dr. Lewis, Beardy Man, Kim Ho, Casey, John Parker, Jason Kaus, who has been writing flavor text for Wizards for a few sets now.
Oh wow.
Because he actually commented on the last episode of, hey, I can't wait till, like, I get to listen to my favorite podcast read off my flavor text, and then I feel all awesome about it. And then he was like, last episode he did the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing at the screen thing. So, awesome. He wrote the Heliod text.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry if I wasn't supposed to mention that, but you've been mentioning it in public, so I assume it's safe. Anyway, let's see. Where did I stop? That was Jason Kaus. So Jason Doan, Jake Jansons, Connor Kennedy, Cody Buckowing, Andrew Odie, Andrew Hunt, ALK Alters, and Al. That's A-L, not Al, like I stabbed myself. Which apparently, because of my accent, for a long time, people thought I was saying Al. Like, no, Al. I'm Southern. Give me a break. So, how about your final thoughts there, Beardy Man? Goyf.
You mentioned the Tower Goyf. That was another funny story. I think it was Mike Turian had an anecdote about how in playtesting it was actually like a star, not a star plus one, and the cost was one green, not one green. But then when it
that makes such a massive both of those make such a massive difference.
Yeah, but then for some reason, and I think he said it was him who just misremembered it. When it got entered into the card file, it got its current stats. And yeah.
Oopsie.
And then it became Tarmogoyf.
Eventually.
Oh,
it didn't take very long, but there was definitely a period where it was like a trash rare.
Yeah. Because there just wasn't anything to do with it yet. But oh right, I made mention before about how the original design of the Planeswalkers eventually ended up inspiring the design of the sagas. So one of the original designs for the Planeswalkers had them just kind of sit there and cycle through just a series of effects. They would just sit there and do their own thing instead of you kind of choosing what they would do for either adding loyalty or
I seem to remember that. Yeah.
hmm The problem is that they didn't play like an interesting, planeswalker companion. They were just, since they were on rails, they were just kind of robotic and boring, and it would lead to situations where they would do things that just wouldn't make any sense. Like I remember an example that Mark Rosewater used, and I don't think I'm getting all the details correct here because it's been so long, is that, for example, an early design for Garrick under that Planeswalker design was, okay, first he makes Wolf token, then I think he doubles your tokens, and then the third ability is like he pumps up all your tokens this turn, and then it cycles back around to the front. Well, if he makes a token and then your opponent kills the token, then when it gets to the next step,
Yeah, he does literally nothing for
nothing
2
happens.
turns.
And then when it gets to the next step, if you don't have any other creatures, nothing happens. So it was just like stupid and boring. So they went back to workshop it, and Planeswalkers didn't make it into the game until the next set, Lorwyn, when they had figured out something much better. But that fixed series of steps does make sense if you're talking about, like telling a story. And for the sagas, because stories have a beginning, stories have an end, they could just do their thing and then be gone from the battlefield. They wouldn't repeat over and over again. So that old tech from one of the early cuts at how to do planeswalkers ended up informing saga design, and ended up working very well for saga design.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. All right then.
All right, that's it.
All right then. As for me, I have hiccups. I don't really have much in the way of final thought. I finished what I was gonna stream of Hollow Knight. I'm almost done with Inscription. I've been playing the hell out of Spider-Man Remastered. Good lord, that game is fun. I need to go back. I've only played Resident Evil once since I got sick and died a few weeks ago. I gotta finish that because the remake comes out like later this month, so I really need to get that finished. Because I want to play through Assignment Ada in separate ways too, which I've literally never played, so I need to do those on stream too. And I've actually been playing some Hitman, like not on stream or anything, just for funsies. And God, I love this game. I stopped streaming it because like no one showed up to the streams anymore, which is a shame because this game is so good. But yeah, I've been working on challenges I hadn't done yet and escalation missions I hadn't done yet and whatnot, just in my off time, which is nice. To be just playing games for fun again, which is a thing that I mostly don't do anymore. Yeah. That's all I got, though. Once I finish Resident Evil, I'll probably go into Doom, like the 2016 Doom. Yeah. Because that's next up on the list of the Doom franchise run. Which I would have started it already, but Resident Evil Remake was coming out, and I was like, damn it! So I had to, start playing it before it became forever irrelevant. So yeah. Very excited to finally dive into the new Doom once I'm done with Resident Evil 4. Dude, Resident Evil 4 still holds up, by the way. It's like a almost 20-year-old game. It might be a 20-year-old game now. I feel like it was 03. I might be wrong on that.
I mean, the gameplay and pacing and levels, I mean, it's pretty snappy. It just feels good to play.
It does. And I will always die on the hill where people are like, well, you can't move and shoot, so it sucks. No, you suck. It was designed around, like, completely 100% around not being able to move and shoot. Like, all of the enemy logic, like the way that they move and the fact that they make a sound before they attack that you can hear and, react to. And I mean, just everything about the game design is built around the fact that you can't move and shoot. So if you could move and shoot, it would be a completely different game. Like, there's a difference between, like, a game design decision and a game design mistake. You know what I mean? And a lot of people see the Resident Evil 4 inability to move and shoot as a mistake, even though the whole game is built around it.
Yeah, and mobility and combat and camera angles have always been part of the survival horror balance in the Resident Evil games.
Yeah. And even though this was the first one that pushed more into action game territory, like, it was still a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
So if you could, like, run around like freaking Dante from Devil May Cry and kill zombie, which, weird, the first Devil May Cry was actually an early idea for Resident Evil 4. But, it became an entirely different game because that would be stupid for a Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it would just be action. It wouldn't be survival horror
Exactly.
if you had that same kind of freedom.
But yeah, it's sort of like people complaining about the weapon degradation in Breath of the Wild. Like, that was a decision on purpose, and they built the whole game around it. It's not a mistake. That's why there's so many weapons everywhere that you can pick up and use, because the game wants you to pick up and use them, because they're all gonna break. Anyway, I was trying to think of, like, deliberately bad, well, not deliberately, but games that actually had the design problems, but I don't tend to play bad games.
Mm-hmm.
So none are coming to mind off the top of my head, but they exist. Because I know I've played them, but they don't stick in my head because I hate them. Ooh, stuff like in Zelda 2, where when you die, like, you use your last continue, you end up back at the palace, and with all of your XP that you had built up but hadn't leveled up yet, that all is gone. Like, that's bad design.
Yeah.
Oh, and in the first Metroid, where when you die, no matter what point in the game you're in, you start with, like, 30 health and, like, a few missiles. And if it's late in the game, you have to then spend, like, an hour grinding to refill your energy tanks and missiles. Like, that's bad design. They didn't know any better back then, but it was bad.
There were some much later Legend of Zelda games that still punished you like that. If you didn't go back to your save.
Really?
That's what I remember. Restarting with just, like, 3 hearts in Ocarina of Time or something.
Oh, well, yeah.
Wrong.
But in Zelda games, it's a lot easier to find health or go to a ferry or something. In the original Metroid, there was no place to just go and fill up your health.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had to grind.
Yeah. You had to make your way to one of the little pipes that had enemies that come out forever and just stand there and shoot, and it was awful. Piccolo said only having 2 save slots in Metal Gear 5 was it. Really? That sounds terrible.
Gosh.
So there's a more recent example. But anyway, that was just a small video game design rant from Chewy here. It's one of those things that grinds my gears. People, even like back then, you can't move and shoot. You can't move and shoot in any 3D game. Shut up. Later, obviously, you could, but... Anyway. So, I guess that'll be it for episode 671. Yeah. I liked that even though there wasn't much in the set to get our teeth into, the fact that there wasn't much led to plenty of discussion. That is one of the good things about Mythic Conscriptions, I think. Except for a couple of those other earlier sets when they were just like everything was bad. So next time we do one of these, it'll be the Happy Land of Lorwyn. Oh dear God, I have no idea what the Lorwyn block looks like from this perspective, which is why we're gonna do it as a Mythic Inscription. And then we can do Morningtide and all feel old because that's when the show started.
Yep, that's right.
Buh. But all right then. So, as I said, this has been the Mana Pool number 671. Thank you all so very much for joining us, and do not get your bitters mixed up with your Barrens.